10 fat-burning superfoods that kills fat instantly. Something strange keeps showing up in kitchens 3,000 years apart. Millions of people are trying to lose fat right now, using expensive supplements, extreme diets, and machines their grandparents never needed. And yet, the foods that quietly help the body burn fat have been sitting in spice jars and fruit bowls the entire time. Here's the uncomfortable part. Your metabolism slows down. Not because you are lazy, but because of hormones, inflammation, and insulin resistance, biological forces most people never learn to work with. But here's where it gets fascinating. Long before anyone understood metabolism, ancient healers were already reaching for the exact ingredients modern labs are now confirming. A pepper feared as medicine, a drink reserved for monks, a fruit blamed for witchcraft. Today, we're uncovering 10 of them and the science behind why they work. 1. Cayenne pepper, the fire the Aztecs trusted with their lives. Aztec warriors didn't just eat chili peppers. They rubbed them into wounds, drank them before battle, and believed heat itself was medicine. It wasn't superstition. They noticed something real. The fire in their mouths matched a fire building inside their bodies. Modern science found the reason, a compound called capsaicin. It binds to heat-sensing receptors in your body, tricking your nervous system into raising your core temperature. Your body responds by burning extra calories just to cool itself down. Researchers call this thermogenesis, and clinical studies have linked regular capsaicin intake to modest increases in calorie burn and appetite suppression. Here's the twist most people miss. Capsaicin also blunts hunger signals in the brain, which is why spicy meals often leave you satisfied on less food. Aztec healers used ground chili in teas and salve for centuries. Today, a pinch on your meals can nudge your metabolism awake. They weren't ahead of science. Science simply hadn't caught up yet. 2. Green tea, the drink monks weren't allowed to skip. In 6th century Chinese monasteries, monks drank a pale green brew before hours of silent meditation. Drinking it wasn't optional, it was ritual. They believed it sharpened the mind. What they didn't know was that it was also rewiring their metabolism. The active compound is EGCG, a catechin that interferes with how your body breaks down norepinephrine, a hormone that signals fat cells to release stored energy. With EGCG present, that signal lingers longer, allowing more fat to be used as fuel. A study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found participants drinking green tea extract burned notably more calories over 24 hours than those who didn't, even at rest. The surprising part? Caffeine alone doesn't explain it. Decaffeinated green tea still shows fat oxidation effects, meaning the catechins are doing real work on their own. Monks drank it for focus. We now know it never stopped working on the body, either. 3. Apple cider vinegar, the battlefield medicine turned kitchen staple. Roman soldiers carried a sour, fermented drink called pasca into battle. It wasn't for flavor, it was survival gear, believed to fight fatigue and disease. Centuries later, scientists discovered the ingredient responsible, acetic acid. Acetic acid slows how quickly your stomach empties, which keeps you fuller longer. But its deeper trick happens inside your cells. It appears to activate an enzyme called AMPK, sometimes nicknamed the body's metabolic switch, which tells cells to burn fat for energy instead of storing it. A widely cited Japanese study found participants who consumed vinegar daily for 12 weeks saw measurable reductions in body weight and abdominal fat compared to a control group. Here's the part rarely mentioned. Vinegar also appears to blunt blood sugar spikes after carb-heavy meals, which matters because sugar spikes are one of the biggest triggers for fat storage. Roman soldiers thought it gave them stamina. It may have been quietly managing their blood sugar the entire time. 4. Ginger, the root ancient physicians called universal medicine. In ancient China, ginger was so valued it was used as currency in some regions. Physicians prescribed it for nearly everything: nausea, inflammation, poor digestion. They weren't wrong to trust it. They just didn't know why. Ginger contains gingerol, a compound that raises body temperature slightly, similar to capsaicin, while also improving insulin sensitivity. meaning your cells respond better to insulin and store less sugar as fat. A study in the journal Metabolism found participants who drank hot ginger tea after a meal reported greater feelings of fullness and burned more calories during digestion than those who didn't. Here's the twist. Ginger also appears to lower cortisol, the stress hormone directly linked to stubborn belly fat. Ancient healers steeped it in hot water after meals, a habit modern nutritionists still recommend today, almost unchanged in 4,000 years. That alone would be impressive, but the next one flips a common assumption completely upside down. 5. Coconut oil, the fat that confused modern science. For decades, nutritionists told people to avoid saturated fat entirely. Then researchers studying Pacific Island populations noticed something odd. Communities eating enormous amounts of coconut showed remarkably low rates of obesity and heart disease. The explanation lay in the type of fat itself. Coconut oil is rich in medium-chain triglycerides, or MCTs, fat molecules short enough that your liver converts them almost immediately into usable energy instead of storing them. Some research suggests MCTs may modestly boost calorie burning and increase feelings of fullness compared to longer-chain fats found in most oils. The surprising part? Not all saturated fat behaves the same way, which is exactly why blanket dietary rules often miss the real story. Pacific Islanders used coconut oil daily, in cooking and in traditional medicine, long before anyone measured a single triglyceride. Sometimes the exception to the rule was the rule all along. 6. Cinnamon, the spice worth more than gold. In ancient Egypt, cinnamon was so rare it was gifted to gods and pharaohs, valued above gold and silver. They didn't understand chemistry. They understood value, and cinnamon delivered something remarkable. Cinnamon contains cinnamaldehyde, a compound shown to improve how cells respond to insulin. Better insulin sensitivity means less sugar gets shuttled into fat storage after meals. A study in diabetes care found that just 1 to 6 grams of cinnamon daily improved blood sugar markers in participants with insulin resistance within weeks. Here's what's rarely discussed. Chronically high insulin is one of the most overlooked barriers to fat loss because it keeps the body locked in storage mode instead of burning mode. Ancient traders guarded cinnamon like treasure. It turns out they were protecting something that quietly regulates fat storage at a hormonal level. Now the story takes an unexpected turn, from tradition into pure biological rebellion. 7. Grapefruit, the fruit once blamed for witchcraft. In the 18th century, grapefruit's strange effects on the body were so unpredictable that some communities viewed it with suspicion, even superstition. Science eventually explained the mystery. Grapefruit contains naringenin, a compound that affects how the liver processes fat and sugar, which is also why it interacts unusually with certain medications. Beyond that interaction, naringenin has been shown in laboratory studies to help the body use insulin more efficiently, reducing the likelihood of fat storage after meals. A well-known study from the Scripps Clinic found participants who ate half a grapefruit before meals lost more weight over 12 weeks than those who didn't, likely a combination of appetite control and improved blood sugar response. The surprising twist? It wasn't magic. It was simply a fruit accidentally interfering with human biology in a measurable way. What once looked like witchcraft was just chemistry, centuries ahead of its explanation. 8. Black coffee, the drink banned by kings. In the 16th century, rulers in parts of the Ottoman Empire tried to outlaw coffee houses entirely, fearing the alertness and independence it gave common people. They sensed its power. They just aimed it at the wrong target. Caffeine stimulates the nervous system to release more norepinephrine, which signals fat cells to break down stored fat for use as energy. The same pathway green tea nudges, but more directly. Research published in Physiology and Behavior found that caffeine intake increased metabolic rate by 3 to 11%, with leaner individuals often seeing the largest effect. Here's the part most people overlook. The fat-mobilizing effect is strongest when caffeine is paired with movement, because that's when the released fat actually gets burned instead of simply reabsorbed. Kings tried to suppress it. Instead, they were suppressing one of the simplest metabolic tools humans have ever discovered. If you think that's remarkable, the next one hides its power in something spicy and completely unexpected. 9. Mustard seeds, the seasoning that doubled metabolism, briefly. In medieval Europe, mustard was prized not just for flavor, but for its intense heat, used in poultices to draw out illness from the body. They were onto something the body still responds to today. A small but frequently cited British study found that a single teaspoon of mustard could boost metabolic rate by up to 25% for several hours afterward, driven by compounds that mildly irritate digestive tissue and trigger a short thermogenic response, similar in family to capsaicin and gingerol. The surprising part? The effect is short-lived, which is exactly why mustard works best as a frequent seasoning rather than an occasional dish. Medieval healers used it to draw out sickness. Modern science shows it drawing something else out entirely. Stored energy, converted briefly into heat. 10. Turmeric, the golden spice reserved for royalty and rituals. In ancient India, turmeric wasn't just food. It colored royal garments, sealed religious ceremonies, and appeared in Ayurvedic medicine thousands of years before modern chemistry existed. The compound responsible is curcumin, one of the most extensively studied natural compounds in modern nutrition science. Curcumin appears to reduce chronic low-grade inflammation, a condition now strongly linked to insulin resistance and stubborn fat retention, particularly around the abdomen. A study in the Journal of Nutrition and Metabolism found that curcumin supplementation, paired with lifestyle changes, was associated with significant reductions in body weight and waist circumference over 8 weeks. Here's the twist rarely mentioned. Curcumin is poorly absorbed alone, which is exactly why ancient Ayurvedic recipes almost always combine turmeric with black pepper and fat, unknowingly creating an absorption boost science only explained centuries later. They weren't guessing. They were observing what worked generation after generation, long before anyone could explain why. 10 different foods, 10 different civilizations, one pattern connecting all of them. None of these cultures had laboratories. They had observation, decades of noticing what helped the body function better, passed down until it became tradition. Modern science didn't invent these effects. It simply explained them. And that's the real lesson hiding underneath this list. The human body has been giving us signals for thousands of years. We just needed better tools to finally listen. You don't need all 10 of these starting tomorrow. Pick 1 or 2, maybe the ginger tea after meals or the pinch of cinnamon in your coffee, and stay consistent for a few weeks. Not because it's a miracle, because consistency is the only ingredient every civilization on this list had in common. Try it. Watch what your body tells you. If this changed the way you think about the food already in your kitchen, like the video and hit the subscribe button, because what's coming next will change the way you think about killing fat entirely.